To Cam Egeland. He's the Secretary General of the Norwegian Refugee Council. He joins us now from Buea via Skype. Mr. Egeland, I know that there was an attack just over 2 weeks ago that killed, 3 children and a teacher? The government now says at least there were 11 school attacks just in the past month. I know you've been visiting schools there in that region. How are all the students and teachers there holding up?
Well, it has a paralyzing effect on education, this horrific violence and the inability of grown men to agree on the political grievances and thereby taking it out on children. So these attacks are not far from here. Buea is the capital of the southwest region of Cameroon, where I am now. I was today in one of the schools that is running. It was a school with 1,100 students. Half of them were displaced from elsewhere, and there were 80, 90, up to 100 in each classroom. So imagine trying to give quality education with 100 kids in your class, half of them traumatized by having witnessed violence.
Of course. Well, this all began, nearly 5 years ago now, as a fight about marginalization. Has that changed? Why is it that schools specifically are being targeted?
Well, it is 5 years. And when I was here 3 years ago, it was seen as an unbearable emergency. This had to end. Now, 3 years after, it's been 5 years for hundreds of thousands of children. I think it is related to these underlying political, linguistic grievances, feeling of marginalization, the lack of decentralization, and so on. But what we keep saying is these are real grievances. They need to be dealt with in talks, in political talks, not by closing down the schools that may have had the wrong curriculum earlier, or that is run by the wrong authorities. Children have the right to education, irrespective of political problems.
In terms of dealing with the security side of things, I know the government is clearly trying to respond that there's really been a distinct lack of capacity and resources here. The government's also trying to fight a Boko Haram insurgency in the north. What would you actually have them do in terms of addressing this level of insecurity?
Well, first, it is very regrettable that the world is neglecting Cameroon, that has 3 major emergencies. The Boko Haram one in the north, I've been there as well. Conditions are horrific among the hundreds of thousands of displaced, and there is more than 100,000 refugees from Nigeria there. There is another 300,000 plus refugees from the Central African Republic coming into the east of Cameroon. And then they have this large conflict in this Anglophone part of Western Cameroon. So number one, there needs to be a scale-up of assistance. We have relatively few humanitarian organizations on the ground, and we're all overstretched and underfunded. Secondly, of course, the international community needs also to bring attention to this place. It's neglected. There is little media attention. Al Jazeera, a positive exemption here. There are few international diplomatic and other initiatives that can be much more encouragement, pushing on the parties to this conflict, including the diaspora that seems to be fueling this conflict. You have political leaders abroad who have their own children in school, in a foreign school, but say we will fight to close schools here until there is independence. That is a stand that cannot be accepted.
Cam Egeland there, the Secretary General of the Norwegian Refugee Council, on the ground there in Buea, speaking to us. Thanks so much for joining us again, Mr. Egeland, and we wish you the best with your work.
Thank you.